Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Center for eLearning's interactive webinar on Gamification Basics. It's great to have you here. I'd like to check in and just make sure make sure I know who's here. Can you get a shout out from anybody who's on mic? Not yet? Okay, that's all right. So our objectives today are to discuss gamification principles. We're going to discuss benefits of gaming in online courses, and we'll discuss possible gaming elements to use in e-learning. Now, if you feel confused about the term gamification, you're in good company. It originated in the digital media industry in 2008, and it became widely used in 2010. I have socks that are older than that. You know, it really has not been around very long. And so people are just still trying to decide what it is, how to use it. And besides that, the technology keeps changing. So it's heavily contested inside the gaming industry and the game studies community. But that's okay. In addition, there are a lot of terms related to gamification, which can be exciting, but also kind of overwhelming. Today we're going to use a definition offered by Sebastian Desjardins and his colleagues. The definition is that gamification is the use of game design elements in non-game contexts. If you're interested in this, Desjardins is a game designer and a researcher at Northeastern University. He's got really great TED Talks, Google Tech Talk, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed checking him out. Okay, yeah, we got some notes from our host. We were thanking Denny today for hosting and running our mediation for the folks who are participating. If there's anything that you would like to jump in and say, love to have that. We're still kind of new with the technology of this WebEx, so you know, it's getting better all the time. We're doing great here. So if you want to shout out, just let Denny know, or we're in good shape. I thought this quote was really interesting because it was only 6 years old, and the prediction has already been fulfilled. It said that some visionaries envision a kind of Gamepocalypse, a hypothetical future in which everything in daily life becomes gamified, from brushing one's teeth to exercise. We're already there, I think. Looking it up, there's a health app on my phone, and every time I go to the doctor, I put in what my blood pressure is, my weight, all that stuff, and it tracks it for me. It keeps records way better than I can do by myself. There's cavity-free 3D in terms of brushing your teeth. This doesn't track every time you do brush your teeth, but dentists use it. They have all kinds of apps to show you how to do it properly. And then this other one I thought was really great. It was called Chore Wars. Oh my gosh, if I had had this when my kids were growing up, it would have really saved us a lot of trouble, I tell you. What you do is you go in and you create a character, and you have points and parties and all kinds of things, missions, and kids go in and they, not just kids, but adults too, go in and they track the chores that they completed. The testimonies are really incredible that people are loving it. So the term Gamepocalypse, of course, is tongue-in-cheek. It sounds kind of negative, but all these apps are designed to help us. And I think that's the real purpose of gamification in education, is to make learning better, to make school better. And we need to stay focused on that. Now, before I started researching this topic, it's very, very new to me. I still accepted the stereotype that adolescent boys comprise the bulk of the gaming population. Let's see, I've got some animation going on here. Yeah, we've got 323 million Americans. And out of that, 155 million Americans play video games. They say that they do. That's 47.9%. It's not just teenage boys. We've got statistics here that the age of the game players, 26% are under 18. The rest are 18 and over. And there's a good representation of people who are 50 plus years. It's kind of everywhere. The gender is not one-sided either. It's pretty evenly spread between males and females, which I just thought was really, really interesting. So I'd like to go ahead and open up our Padlet. I've sent out a question to everybody to see what games all of our participants and presenters enjoy playing and why. Okay, thanks, Mary. Mary likes to play Monopoly and Scrabble. Mary, are you able to unmute and talk to us?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I grew up with 3 boys, and I don't remember ever winning anything with them. So if I can win a game of tennis, that'll be pretty cool for me. But I do like Monopoly, especially when I'm the bank, and I get to steal a few dollars here and there.
Especially what?
When I'm the bank.
Oh, you're the bank.
So as a kid, the most fun was kind of getting 1 or 2 of those bills into my own pile secretly and surreptitiously. That was a lot of fun. And then, my favorite one ever is Scrabble, because you can actually create made-up words and then have the most amazing conversations about whether or not it's a real word. So yeah, I think the thrill of competing and doing stuff that you don't normally do in real life is what makes it fun.
It sounds like with Scrabble there was some creativity going on there and some challenge.
Yes.
When I taught at an alternative school, we used to play Scrabble, and I always had them use their dictionaries because we were trying to improve their vocabulary. Mm-hmm. And one of my students protested. He said, "Miss, this is not how you play in jail. They'll beat you up." I was like, well, okay, if you're in jail, don't do it this way. And then, I didn't really know the rules, but then I played with a friend who's an attorney, and he was very serious about you don't get to use the dictionary.
Right.
Okay, the rules are serious here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. For some people, for some other people, my brothers always came up with the new rules. Like, no, that's not how it is. And they would come up with, rules they create in the moment. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
Was that fun for you when they did that, or frustrating?
The thing is, it was pretty frustrating when they cheated, honestly.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in terms of rules it's important. Yeah, well, that does tie in. It absolutely will. Mm-hmm. And we've got a couple of people who are anonymous. I can't tell who they are, but we've got football, soccer, we've got Super Mario, we've got chess, Jeopardy, Life, and Monopoly. Yeah, all great games. I had fun with this presentation because I had to practice and I had to do some research. And so I got back on Lego Star Wars on my computer. And it's been a while since I played, and I was terrible at it. But it really, I had a really good time. I had to contact my daughter. She helped me with figuring out how to do it again. And we'll keep talking about some of these things. Oh, golf. I love golf. I'm not very good at it. Another one I really like is called Home. It's home design. Very cool. So thanks for sharing. Oh, wait, Denny, were you the one that put up any of these things? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what games you like and why.
Yeah, I was one of the ones that put soccer.
Yeah.
And also Super Mario and chess. Those are fun games. I see in the chat, Veronica Diaz also says that she enjoys Yahtzee, domino, cards, No poker, but mostly Latin American games.
Okay. Thank you. With the dominoes, Yahtzee, poker, those kind of, when I had my students, they would get so into them, and it was just a real social interaction challenge. Really exciting. And then soccer, that's a pretty much universal game. It's and there's certainly different. Did you play on a high school team or a college team or?
Well, I play here, yeah, at FAU, intramural.
Okay, very, very fun. Thanks, thanks, Denny.
Yep.
Okay, and thanks everybody for sharing. There's different motivations for playing the games. Some of it is social, some of it is challenge. So your mission now, as we move forward, I'd like you to see which game elements apply to the games that you named, and then also see how these elements can be applied in some way to your online course. One of the things that is important to note is that there's a difference between play and game. In playing, there's, both of these pictures, you see basketball being played, right? But the little guy, he's not playing a game. He's just playing, just enjoying, just pure enjoyment, okay? There's no goal except to just have fun, very little structure or rules. There's no feedback except for maybe his parents, yeah, you caught it, that kind of a thing. And it certainly is voluntary. In gaming, in a game, you have an epic goal. In a real game, you've got a goal. This basketball team, they want to win. There's levels that they have, there's different, it's broken up into quarters. In each quarter, they check to see how far along they've gotten. There's increasing challenge. Maybe there's a championship or a tournament that they can get into, and there's certainly teams that try to put themselves together to be better than the other team. So there's definitely increasing challenge on that as you improve your skill and your teamwork. There are rules. Like we said with Mary, playing the games, if we don't stick with the rules, then we really don't want to play anymore because it's not fun for us anymore. It's important to, in basketball, you've got points. There's teams, they have to pass, they can't kick the ball, they can't go out of bounds, etc. It's got pretty good parameters about how to play it. There's feedback in a game. From the guys just shouting to each other and encouraging each other, clapping, to the points that they rack up, from coaches who tell them what they did from game to game or play to play and how they can do better. And then you've even got a referee who calls when there's a violation of the rules. The referee will give a timeout, that kind of thing. Then the other piece of a game is that it's voluntary. If these guys don't want to play, they don't have to. They're motivated by some aspect of the game, whether it's the goal or the feedback or the social interaction or the challenge. And the same elements are true in digital gaming. We've got goals, we've got rules, we've got feedback, and it's voluntary. These elements can also be applied in e-learning, and I think we'll see that they actually are applied in a number of ways. Okay, the first component we're going to talk about is the goal. The goal in a game, and we're talking primarily about video games here, is there's an epic goal. The more challenging the game is, the better it is. In gaming, there's usually a story. I had to do my research last night, and I was working in Lego Star Wars and really enjoying it. In Lego Star Wars, you move from the Trade Federation's negotiations with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, the Phantom Menace, and you end up in the final one in a space battle above Endor in the Return of the Jedi. There are 36 story mode levels, including high-speed pursuit of the bounty hunter, Jam Wessel. It's epic. You're going on this adventure. The story provides the purpose of the game. It challenges you to solve problems and encourages you to keep going in pursuit of the final goal. I found myself really upset because I had accidentally lasered one of my droids and his arm broke off, and I was like, oh no, I mutated, or I hurt C-3PO. Called my daughter, and she's like, no, just kill him and he regenerates. Yay! You get attached to these guys. The epic goal, like we said, it's broken into smaller pieces, increasing in difficulty each time. Okay. As we're going along, if you have anything you want to add or ask or anything, please feel free to jump in. Much rather this be interactive than a lecture. So let's think about what's the epic goal in your online course. In a college course, you can add an external story to the curriculum, but especially in e-learning, I don't know, I just really see that the epic goal can also be an inherent part of every lesson. The learner has set his or her own goal, either to achieve something, graduating, or to become something, becoming a doctor, becoming a teacher, to increase their skills in one way or another. And every day, every lesson brings them a little bit closer to that goal. I was thinking about it and just that, gosh, college, in comparison to, say, elementary school, this is where the possibilities are just wide open. And it's so funny because it's like the opposite. The elementary kids are dreaming and having fun, imagining what they're going to be. And college kids maybe sometimes feel more limited or pigeonholed. Not sure how that happens. But if they're encouraged to dare to dream of what they'll become, it really opens up the possibilities for them. So I hope that we're encouraging our students to imagine themselves in the role of a doctor or corporate presenter, an FBI agent. And one way to do that is for the instructor to encourage the students. Okay, the other component that we talked about was the rules or the parameters. In a game, whether it's basketball or Lego Star Wars, the rules are going to vary according to the setting of the game. In basketball, it can be a pickup game. Maybe double dribbling is not such a big problem, but in a championship professional game, the rules need to be tightly followed. In my home game design, I'm an interior designer. It's part of my story. And I need a certain number of keys in order to purchase specific items. And then as I level up, the requirements for clients get more and more challenging. It tells you the story of this newlywed couple just moved to Malibu and they want to have a completely modern design for overlooking the beach. And so you have to fulfill these particular requirements or you don't get your points. Even though the challenge increases, the rules stay consistent. So I always know how to succeed, and I just have to keep going and keep solving the problems, and then I will succeed. In an online course, we have pretty specific rules and parameters. It's expressed through our syllabus, due dates, time limits. One of the strategies that we frequently use when designing online courses is the assignment literally goes away. You can set it so that the assignment is no longer available after the due date. So students, especially after that first time that it happens to them, they realize, I really need to get this in on time or else I miss out. That's an aspect of gaming. Asking folks to do formatting in a particular way, showing rubrics. This is all rules of things of what's expected and how to succeed. Okay, in online gaming, digital gaming, you always know your status. You always know what level you're on, how many points you have, how much time is left. You are immediately aware of your errors and your successes. This is my Lego Star Wars game that I played last night. Here I have 3,050 points. These little guys are glowing things, and I've won 2 out of 160 gold bricks. So you can tell I'm pretty low on the success level, but I have more that I can get. I'm excited about it. It's a good challenge. And then on my home design game, I have 930 diamonds, which allow me to buy particular items. I have 20 out of 75 keys, which allows me to enter particular challenges. And I have $21, which really isn't very much. I'm going to have to play more and get rewarded some more. And my overall score is 4.25 out of 5. And these are the different designs that I've put in. And what happens is people vote on them. And you get compared one design to another design. And then however many times you win that people vote for yours, that drives your points up. So, and there's even leaderboards. You can see who's playing in your friend network and who's playing across the world. It's really pretty cool. What's amazing here, I think, is that players learn through repeated failure. There's no risk in making a mistake. If I kill my droid, he will regenerate. It's not a problem. If I don't make it to the next, eventually I will make it to the next level, but I just have to keep walking around and hitting stuff to get the points that I need. And I don't mind spending the time doing that because every time I get to that level again, I go through it faster. It's just very, very motivating, something about it. So what we want to do is how can we figure out this is it? How do we get people, instead of having 2 hours that you're playing in this silly little Lego Star Wars game, why can't I get my students to get so engrossed in the content and what we're doing that the time just flies like that? Some of the skills some of the strategies that we can use in an online class, discussion boards. Those are, they give each other feedback and they get feedback from the instructor. Certainly their grade book with the points. One of the things that's really motivating is instant feedback. So quizzes, if we're able to, can give us instant feedback. Keeping it low risk means maybe I want to have just a knowledge check that gives me instant feedback, and it doesn't count for that many points, but it just helps me to level up and get to the bigger challenges. There's rubrics, there's rewards, there's badges. We're going to discuss some more of that too. Okay. So yeah, some of the types of feedback that we can use in e-learning. We are using badges in our e-certification workshop. And sometimes it's motivating, sometimes it's not. For the folks who enjoy getting that visual feedback and that positive feedback, they really it is motivating. They want to get to the next level. There's also a feature in Canvas, which is our LMS, where you can put required items into a module, and when those required items are finished, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a green check here that when the students are finished, it shows them that they finished that module. You can also set it so that they can't move to the next module until they've completed the first one. And you can set it for they have to get a certain number of points, or they have to submit something, or you have to mark it done. You can set it to whatever parameters you want. Okay, voluntary. Like we said, this one is fairly easy to accept when we're talking about kickball or chess or anything like that. But when we talk about education, it gets a little more complicated. Certainly, elementary students don't have a choice. They have to go to school unless their parents are willing to break the law. College students, we've got arguments on both sides, whether college is a need or a choice. I think that this component really does lie in the mind of the student. If the student believes in his or her power of choice, then higher education is voluntary. If he feels trapped, like he has to do it, maybe not so much. If your course is an elective, then that's certainly going to feel like more of a choice to the students. But even in a mandatory course, the professor can give students options. For example, when I took my master's degree in educational technology, I had assignments and I was also working as a teacher. My professors allowed me to tailor particular assignments so that they'd be more useful in my classroom. This really brought purpose to my work and it motivated me. I wanted to do it well because it was mine. So if we're able to give students choice about what they're going to accomplish, what their projects are going to be, it really gives them a stronger motivation to do what they're doing. And that's not new. That's certain basic elementary theory. I mean, basic education theory, but it applies here. Okay, benefits. This is where I want to open us up again. If we're able to give feedback into chat, or if you can unmute yourself, what benefits would you expect if you applied some of these game design elements to your online course? Would it be worth the effort? It's certainly, when I read an article, Lee and Hammer, they asserted that we should only implement gamification if it's going to improve the learning experience of our students. We really don't want to do stuff just because it's cool or there's missiles. It needs to enhance the experience of the students and the teachers too. Do we have anybody opening up here or no? Okay. All right. Instructors, you really need to believe that implementing gaming elements into your course, you really need to believe that it's worth your time. Your time is the most valuable thing that you have.
So I think Veronica Diaz has her hand raised. I'll unmute her.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You can speak now.
Thank you, Kathy. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Veronica.
Okay, I have been a little bit hesitant to talk about the benefits because the only type of gaming that I can relate to is because I have been teaching using simulations and using my lab, but I'm having difficulty trying to bring that into the gamification, or if it counts. But I'm just going to share my experience because these are not really created by me, but carefully selected to align with the courses. So it's not easy to find because it depends on the class you're teaching. But I would just use them to illustrate the experience and see if there is any benefit to anyone.
I would absolutely say that the things that you just mentioned, simulations, my lab, it absolutely counts. Absolutely. And you don't have to create it. I create almost nothing. I steal pretty much everything.
So I use simulation for the business strategy class, and I use simulation for the international business class. But those are carefully selected to be aligned to the course content, and the challenge is to align it per module. But it works like a charm. Students have to pay extra for it, so I have to work on getting a nice balance of how much they pay for the simulation versus how much they pay for the book. So at times I have to do a custom book so to bring down the price. So it's a bit challenging from the design perspective, and it doesn't apply to all the classes. But if you find the game or the simulation and you can align it, that's the worst part, to find it and the alignment, because then the games run by themselves, and then you just need to be very knowledgeable of the game to be able to provide feedback to the students and engagement by telling them what's coming next, and then being able to help them if they have a question. But the benefits are absolutely immeasurable, because it creates a very healthy competition, and then it is a rounds, and you get the badges, and you compete, and you want to be top 5, and you want to beat other people. it is really fantastic. But for other classes that you don't have the luxury of being able to run a simulation, and because it's really should be very carefully designed,
Yeah.
I have found that many of the key publishers that have the labs, and you can have the quizzes for the different chapters worth little points, but at least to make it 2 to 5% of the course grade. There are good reviews for the different chapters. Students get to know where they're failing. They can repeat the quizzes. It is very, very, very beneficial.
Wonderful.
That's my take, but I don't know if that counts as gamification.
It does, of course it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So
and
thank you.
You made a really good point, Veronica, about corporations getting involved in this. We see really, of course, schools don't have any money, right? But corporations do. And they're the ones who are doing the research on this. They're the ones who are collecting the statistics and determining whether or not this is worth their time. So we want to keep, again, it's only 6 years old, this whole thing. So we really want to just keep our eye on it and see where else we can go. Another thing I would recommend is, write grants. If there's grants out there available that you need the cost to be covered for this technology for your students, let's write a grant and get the technology for them. Yeah. Beautiful. Wow.
So some of them are more high quality than others, but at times it just takes a little bit of trial and error. But my best bet is I try to go with those recommended by key publishers of textbooks that I use in the classes, so that kinds of eliminates the bad ones from the equation. And I'll give it a try, and if it works, I go with it and explore a little bit further, but I think it's well worth the time.
Great. Oh, that's so great. We've heard from, thank you so much. That's wonderful. I was so blessed to have Nicole is a new instructional designer at the Center for eLearning, and she's a doctoral student, and her topic is gaming, gamification. So she did a lot of coaching with me to prepare for this, and she said that she's been at conferences where the idea was presented that any online course is gamification because it's self-run, it's interactive, and it's virtual. There's this kind of balance of just because it's digital doesn't mean it's educational, and just because it's not digital doesn't mean it's not gaming. There's a kind of we're not really sure where that is, but at this point, it's okay. We're just exploring and checking it all out, and we'll keep our eye on it and see how it goes. It's only going to get better, I think.
Mary would also like to add something.
Awesome. Hi, Mary.
Hi. So, a lot of what I was going to say, Veronica said. I really like that you have those two words there, goal and voluntary. And I feel that anything where students can tune in to their own ideas for doing something, their own goals, anything that does that will be creating a context for learning that is self-directed. So I think Kathy, you talked about intrinsic motivation when we did the creating engagement presentation, and I don't see how you can do this any better than having their own students connect and having these as a voluntary thing they do. I choose to participate, and I choose to do my best work for this activity, and I think that's wonderful. The other thing that I wanted to say is setting up your gradebook in such a way that you're winning points. So you start from 0, you have nothing, and then when you get to a 30%, you go to the next level. And then setting it up in a way, and it's just probably a matter of saying it on your syllabus and setting up those levels of achievement. So starting from 0 instead of from 100, moving up.
Thank you. Yes, using the terminology certainly. I don't know would department heads have a problem with using those kinds of terms. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But most of the gamification that they talked about, well, there's different levels. There's some where it's just the instructor doing it only in their class, and then there's whole schools that are revolved around the game principle. So somewhere in the middle is usually the safe place to be. What the researchers have found so far is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Just like everything else in education, because you're dealing with human beings. There's no formula, there's no strategy that works for absolutely everybody. And it depends on the context. Who's involved in this? What are they doing? How are they doing it? And how is it being received? Of course, the teacher, again, the instructor is the most influential part of the whole course. You'll never be able to convince me otherwise. And when you've got just self-run courses that don't need a teacher, I would think that's probably skill learning, but I think there's a big piece that's left out.
Judy also writes in the comments, she says, it seems to me that all of these components are part of our courses and definitely worth the effort. Thanks,
Judy. That's what I thought too. As I was building this, I was kind of thinking, there's nothing new under the sun. This is all, we've been doing this all along. But it's just kind of having a little bit, it's a new using the technology and bringing in some new ideas and having new flavor to it. Let's see, where are we here in the notes? Oh, so there's some resources. There's some amazing research articles, but this reality is broken by Jane McGonigal. Highly recommend her video there. Very, very engaging and fun. It's pretty cool. This is online games with a purpose, and it's a little bit out of what we talked about, but really liked it. There's free rice, where students on every level can increase their vocabulary, and every time you get a word, 10 more grains of rice is donated to a developing community. There's World Without Oil. This is a metagame where the participant, the player, has to come up. This world that is using different kinds of energy, and it's coming up with different sources of energy, and it's just really, really exciting. They've already had new ideas become invented because of this type of interaction. We talked about chore wars, which I'm going to tell all of my friends from now on about that. And then Evoke. I can't remember what that was about. I don't know. We gotta check it out. So, okay, coming soon. We have on November 27th, we're wrapping up another semester, and so we're going to be talking about time management. December 4th, how to help the struggling online learner. December 11th, interesting talk on education policies and how they impact higher education. And then just before we leave, we're going to do a reflection on the semester. Did anybody want to add anything else before we go? It feels like we wrapped up pretty well. Okay. So thank you so much for your time. Again, your time is the most valuable thing that you have, and we really appreciate you spending this hour with us. We hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks.